Okay, so hello everyone again. This is lecture 4 part 1 of dual nature of radiation and matter. Let's begin our discussion again from the 7th point, that was the particle nature. So let's start the lecture directly. I'm Samir Lavankar. Let's begin our discussion. So in the previous lectures we did many discussions regarding, let's say, photoelectric effect, then about the Einstein's photoelectric equation, then experimental study regarding that. We started with the introduction about then electron emission, basically what is the difference of electron emission, how does the electron emission takes place, etc. Today let's not go into the previous discussions, let's start directly with the particle nature of light, because a new discussion has to be completed with this, and then finally after that we will do the Davidson and Germer experiment, and that will be the end of dual nature of radiation and matter. So let's start the discussion on wave nature of matter. Okay, so let me go slowly. In the previous lecture I started a little bit about it, but I will again go so that the revision will also take place, and I will start with the new chapter. So the wave nature of light shows up in the phenomena of interference, diffraction and polarization. So as you can see, these are the three things which are being conceptualized when we understand the concept or the new lecture that is about the wave nature of propagation of light. So basically, as we already know, there are two types of propagation. One is due to light, that is Descartes theory, and second is due to the wave theory. After initially the Descartes theory came into picture, but because many of the observations of phenomena such as depicted here called as interference, diffraction and polarization were not being able to be conceptualized using the Descartes theory, hence we came into the wave nature of light, wave nature of propagation of light. There is a complete chapter based upon this, you may go and look over to that chapter also regarding this concept. So basically interference, diffraction, polarization is being conceptualized there very clearly. Okay, so this is basically a initial introduction of this topic. So the wave nature of light shows up in the phenomena of interference, diffraction and polarization. On the other hand, in photoelectric effect and Compton effect, which involves energy and momentum transfer, radiation behaves as if it is made up of a bunch of particles or the photons. So basically a photon concept, which we already discussed in the previous lectures, photon concept is being utilized in the concepts of photoelectric effect and Compton effect. For Compton effect, you can just ignore it as an effect for now, because I cannot go into the detail of what is Compton effect, but you know the concept of photoelectric effect. So basically, as we already know what is photoelectric effect, when a light is being incident, then the electrons are being passed away. So basically the electrons are being ejected out from the metal surface, and hence we can say this as some sort of energy balls are being ejected. Those energy balls are called as photons here. Okay, let's move on. So whether a particle or wave description is best suited for understanding an experiment depends on the nature of experiment, quite evident. So if you want to understand the phenomena of polarization, by any of the explanation done by Descartes theory, we cannot understand the concept of polarization. By any theory apart from wave nature of light, we cannot understand the concept of diffraction. By any theory apart from the wave theory, we cannot understand the concept of interference. So because what they are trying to say, depending on the nature of experiment, we have to just wave between, or we have to propagate between the Descartes theory and the wave theory. Let us say I take it as an example of light. This thing is also being utilized in another concepts also. So it is just written here, it depends upon whether we have to understand it as a particle nature or particle description or the wave description. What we do is, it is best suited for understanding an experiment depending on the nature of the experiment. What does the nature of propagation show? What does the nature of propagation do, etc. Okay. For example, now let us go to the examples now. So for example, in the familiar phenomena of seeing an object by our eye, both descriptions are important. The gathering and focusing mechanism of light by the eye lens is well described in the wave picture. So basically, when we try to understand this wave picture, the conceptualization of how the wave is being, or the light is being what we can say, captured by our eye, how can we see things, this thing can be more easily conceptualized using wave concept. That is, like if we understand the complete theory or complete lecture of light as a wave nature or wave propagation, then we can understand it much more clearly as far as Descartes theory is considered. Okay. So the gathering and focusing mechanism, as you can see, gathering as in we are capturing the light, and focusing as in after the light is being captured using the concepts of optical instruments, optical measurement, etc. Can we understand those concepts physically or not? Okay. So the gathering and focusing mechanism of light by the eye lens is well described in the wave picture, but its absorption by the rods and cones of the retina requires a photon picture of light. So basically it depends upon the nature of experiment. If you are trying to understand the concept of gathering and focusing mechanism, then the wave nature of propagation is required, and if we are trying to understand the absorption phenomena by the retina, then the photon picture is required. Okay. So basically this complete slide is only based upon that it depends upon the nature of experiment what you are trying to do, and finding out that if this experiment can be experimented, this can be visualized using the wave propagation or the particle propagation. That is it. There is no rocket science in this, just we are trying to depict what sort of experiments can be understood by the wave propagation, what sort of experiments can be understood by the particle propagation. Okay. So next thing is that but its absorption by the rods and cones of the retina requires a photon picture of light. Now natural question arises, if the radiation has a dual nature, let us say that radiation has a dual nature. What is the concept of radiation being talked about? I will try to understand it in subsequent slides. For now you can understand it as light propagation only. So let us say that if radiation has a dual nature, might not the particles of nature also exhibit wave like character? What does it try to say is basically, let us say this is the propagation, let us say this is the radiation we are talking about. Let us say this is the radiation we are talking about. Now they are just trying to pose a simple question towards you. What they are trying to say is, let us say we are doing the experiments regarding this. If the eye is same, if the light is same, why does it require that some sort of experiment such as gathering and let us say this focusing is being explained by the wave nature, and let us say this absorption is being understood by the particle nature? That means in some sort of sense we can say that these radiations have a dual nature, hence the name of the chapter. Hence the name of chapter is dual nature of radiation and matter. What does it try to say is basically that matter or a radiation always have not only a single entity, it is comprised of both particle nature also and a wave nature also. Hence it is called as dual nature of matter. So that is the main concept which arise just now after we understood the complete concept of photoelectric effect, the Einstein's photoelectric equation and so on. So final crux of this chapter is that you need to understand that the complete light phenomena can only be understood when we try to conceptualize both into picture. We are taking a Descartes, some sort of principle from the Descartes theory, we are taking some sort of principle from the wave theory, we try to merge it, and then we try to understand this complete lecture or this complete series of radiation and matter. Okay. So natural question arises, if radiation has a dual nature, might not the particles of nature, that is also like electrons, protons, etc., also exhibit wave like character? Now let us try to understand this. So in 1924, so basically experiments were being done regarding this phenomena. What was found? So in 1924, the French physicist Louis Victor de Broglie put forward the bold hypothesis that moving particles of matter should display wave like properties under suitable conditions. This is a very important point because we are now trying to understand what is de Broglie wavelength, etc. So now new concept will arise. So try to understand this concept very carefully now. So basically what happened is, as we were trying to understand the concept of dual nature of radiation and matter, we went to the, so people tried to understand this, researches were being carried out. Finally it was found that yes, let us say this is a particle, let us say this is a particle. These both particles comprises of a wavelength surrounding it. So basically when it will try to move, when it will leave, it will also show a wavelength out of nature. Any wavelength is being comprised of wave particle of theory, and anything which has a mass is comprising of particle nature of theory. So what de Broglie suggested a hypothesis, a bold hypothesis. Why it is called as a bold hypothesis? Because for the first time you are trying to understand a concept which is based upon both a particle nature also and a wave nature also. That is why this thing was called as a bold hypothesis. Finally it was being conducted and it was found to be successful. We are just trying to understand that phenomena only here only. So basic crux of this complete slide was we are trying to understand the summary of this lecture. This slide is just we are trying to understand that whether let us say I give you an entity, can this entity comprise of both a particle nature also and a wave nature also. Now let us try to understand this. Okay. So now he reasoned that nature was symmetrical and that the two basic physical entities, matter and energy, must have symmetrical character. What does it mean by symmetrical character? I will try to make you understand. First let me read this. So if radiation shows dual aspects, so should matter. Radiation as in the complete concept which you are trying to implement in the previous lecture, such as Einstein's photoelectric equation, etc. Now we are trying to implement this, that let us say the quantity was very small for now electrons, protons. Can this be increased to, let us say, if I increase the size to this, or let us say increase size to this, or let us say earth any size. So we are trying to understand what happens with the wavelength at that criteria or at that instances. Okay. So de Broglie proposed that the wavelength lambda associated with a particle of momentum p, now we quite understood that any particle has a mass m, and let us say this is moving with a velocity v, then the momentum of that particle is denoted by p, which is equal to mv. Fine. So this is already known to us. Let us go. So de Broglie proposed that the wavelength lambda associated with a particle of momentum p is given as lambda is equal to h upon p or h upon mv. So what is the use of this? For now you just remember this, I will try to implement it in the subsequent slides. Okay. So basically what he suggested that, lambda is equal to h upon p, which is equal to h upon mv. So let us first of all look to this equation a little more. As you can see, h upon p or h upon mv. As you can clearly see, as the mass increases, let me change the color for more clarity. So as we can see, as the mass of the particle increases, the wavelength decreases. As the value of velocity increases, the wavelength decreases. So as velocity increases, as you can see, the wavelength also decreases. This can be conceptualized using the concept of de Broglie relation. So what we are trying to understand is, let us say the mass is very small. Let us say mass is very small, in the order of electrons. So then what was happening in the present situation was, when the mass is very small, as you can see from the relation, the wavelength of lambda is very high. If the wavelength is very high, in the sense is we can observe this wavelength. The wavelength can be observed very clearly. In the contrast, what was happening is, let us say that we increase the mass to, let us say, of the order of, let us say, a pen. What happens in the size of pen? The electron is very small as compared to a pen. Hence what happens is, we can increase, or we can put this as a very high mass, and the wavelength of lambda decreases. Then this wavelength would be there, but this would be so small, that it would be so small that it won't be available or won't be visible by the naked eye. This is the complete concept which de Broglie tried to make us understand in this complete hypothesis. So let me stop this discussion here and try to reiterate everything which is written here, so that we can understand the concept much clearly. So de Broglie proposed that the wavelength lambda associated with a particle of momentum p is given as lambda is equal to h upon p, which is equal to h upon mv, where m is the mass of the particle and v is its speed. Quite evident, m is the mass, v is the speed. Then next thing is, above equation is known as the de Broglie relation, and the wavelength lambda of the matter wave is called as de Broglie wavelength. So please remember, because this can come in exams also, please write the de Broglie relation. So basically this is your de Broglie relation, and this wavelength is called as the de Broglie wavelength. Okay, let's move on. The dual aspect of matter is evident in the de Broglie relation. Now let us try to understand whatever I just explained you in the right hand side will be explained here. So on the left hand side of the equation, lambda is the attribute of a wave, while on the right hand side the momentum p is a typical attribute of a particle. What does it try to say? Let me try to explain it to you here. It is written lambda is equal to h upon p, right? If seen clearly, you can see that on the left hand side of this, lambda denotes your wave nature. And your h upon p, or basically p, denotes your particle nature. So from the equation it is quite evident that we are trying to equalize, or we are trying to equate something of particle nature and something of wave nature. How can we equate something which are of conceptualizing of different scenarios? It can only be possible if we try to implement, or if we will try to make it a fact that the radiation always is a dual nature. A matter is also dual nature, a radiation is also dual nature. That is only why how can we can implement this complete theory. So that is only been explained here. So on the left hand side of the equation, lambda is the attribute of a wave, while on the right hand side the momentum p is a typical attribute of a particle. Planck's constant h relates the two attributes. So we can just write it as that h is equal to nothing but lambda p. So as you can see that lambda is a h is a constant value, h is a constant value which is a product of lambda into p. So, this can also be attributed. So, basically what happens is, let us say the wavelength lambda increases, then it is quite evident that p should decrease. Why? Because we need the value of h to be constant, because Planck's constant, as the name suggests, it is a constant. So, Planck's constant h relates the two attributes. Above equation for a material particle is basically a hypothesis whose validity can be tested only by experiment. Okay. So, basically this complete crux was based upon, initially we understood the concept that okay, a radiation also has a dual nature, and a particle and a wave and a greater particle also has a dual nature. Now we are trying to understand it mathematically. How we are trying to understand it mathematically? We are trying to implement a de Broglie relation, that is lambda is equal to h upon p, using which we can understand that yes, a big particle also has the wave nature, but the wavelength is very small, it cannot be visible by the naked eye. However, it is interesting to see that it is satisfied also by a photon. So, for a photon we have seen that p is equal to h nu by c. So, this was already been explained in the previous discussions. We know that momentum for this photon is nothing but h nu upon c, fine. So, hence now what we can do is, we know that lambda is equal to, from the de Broglie relation we know lambda is nothing but equal to h upon p, which is equal to h upon h nu by c. As h gets cancelled, we can write as c by nu, right. So, this is quite evident. We can see that we also know that distance is equal to speed into time, right. So, distance is equal to speed into time. So, as lambda can be contributed, or if we try to do the analogous part of these two relations, we can say that lambda is the distance, c is the speed, and 1 by nu is basically time, frequency inverse is time. Hence, we can write distance is equal to speed into time for that. Hence, this thing is also being proved from this concept. Okay. So, therefore, p is equal to h nu by c, therefore, h by p is equal to c by nu is equal to lambda. That is, the de Broglie wavelength of a photon, the de Broglie wavelength of a photon equals the wavelength of an electromagnetic radiation for which the photon is a quantum of energy and momentum. Very typical words, but they are just trying to make you understand that the de Broglie wavelength, this and the de Broglie wavelength. So, basically this is your de Broglie wavelength and this is your h upon c, and this is c by nu, right. Yes. So, basically de Broglie wavelength, so this is your de Broglie wavelength is equal to the wavelength of electromagnetic radiation. This is the wavelength of electromagnetic radiation. So, what does it try to make you understand? It is trying to make you understand that a wave nature of light, the final crux is, final crux of each and every line is just this, that yes, a particle can be conceptualized or make it as a fact that it can be understood as a dual nature. What does it mean by dual nature? That it also has a wave particle theory into it, and it also has a particle theory into it. So, these two things can be conceptualized, and finally, we can understand this complete equation using the de Broglie relation. Okay. Clearly, lambda is smaller for heavier particles, quite evident, or more energetic particle largely. What does it try to make you understand? So, we know lambda is equal to h upon mv, right. So, as you can see that as m increases, lambda will decrease. Similarly, if v increases, then also lambda will decrease. So, that is only concept conceptualized here. So, clearly lambda is smaller for a heavier particle large m or more energetic particle large v. Okay. So, let me stop the discussion here only. I will start a discussion from this example part in the next lecture. So, let me stop it here. So, thank you so much.